Welcome to the Echoes, a Notre Dame podcast. I'm Mike Golic Jr. She's Jessica Smetana, and Notre Dame victorious yet again this week. As always, make sure you download, subscribe, rate, review, leave us a 5-star rating at the Echoes ND Pod on all social media. Check out our YouTube channel. Going to be a fun one today. Tay Johnson, one of the heroes of the weekend for Notre Dame, redshirt freshman safety, going to join us after a banner performance where he was a part of a big day for the defense, 37-14. Notre Dame takes down Pitt with an interesting backdrop. You've got the comments from Pat Narduzzi last week in the lead up to this game saying he doesn't care if they lose 100-10 because this isn't an ACC game, to which Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame responded, all right, oblige him, and promptly went out and bludgeoned Pitt in front of a crowd that included College Game Day, which was there for the first time in, I believe, 2 decades. Aaron Donald was back in town, a bunch of Pitt dignitaries, and our very own Jess Smetana was on hand as well. So, Jess, take us inside Yinzer territory. How was this weekend for you, bud?
Oh my gosh, Mike, it was really fun. So a little bit of background. My mom is from Pittsburgh, and so most of my mom's side of the family either went to Pitt or Duquesne or Penn State or any of the adjacent universities, but most of them are Pitt fans. And so they were having a big tailgate for the game. And this is, I want to say, the 7th or 8th Pitt Notre Dame game that I've been to. I try to go to every single one because it's always a big meeting of my families, both sides of my family, the Notre Dame side, the Pitt side. So I made the road trip. It was kind of like a last minute decision because it's a long drive from New York City, but I was like, this might be the last time I see Notre Dame play this season. If they lose the game, I mean, it's definitely going to be the last regular season game I go to because I'm not going to go to Syracuse or Stanford to either of those games. So decided, you know what? College Game Day is going to be there. Let's make a road trip out of it. Let's have some fun. I was very nervous before the game, but I also kind of just had a feeling I think Notre Dame could really blow this team out. But we said last week, CJ Carr's got to play a good game because this Pitt defense I thought was going to be really good. And I will say, my impression of this game, Pitt is not a bad team. At least their defense was not bad. And anyone who thinks that this Pat Narduzzi commentary had anything to do with the way Pitt played, I think is honestly, I'll say it, dumb. That you're dumb. Pitt wanted to win this game so bad. This was the biggest Pitt game in years. It was sold out. They retired Aaron Donald's jersey. Game Day was there, like you said. This was a huge game for the Pitt football program. It would have meant so much to them, even though, of course, it's not a conference game. But I thought Notre Dame, despite the fact that CJ Carr didn't play his best and Pitt's defense really made them earn every single point that they scored, the defense, Mike, was suffocating on Saturday.
Oh, from that first Adon Shuler hit on the Pitt wide receiver that jarred the ball loose, I think that was the moment where you saw, and to me, the biggest discrepancy in this game was Notre Dame bigger, faster, stronger in every phase of the game, and that showed up there. That physical tone set kind of permeated through the rest of the day as the defense continues what's been an incredible turn from the first 3 or 4 games of the season to now, the way they've become the super weapon they were last year. This looks like the 2024 Notre Dame defense all over again, with some wrinkles that we knew, with some new faces like Tay that we'll talk to. But overall, they're playing the kind of brand of football again where every time they take the field, you feel like they take every yard personally. That was how it looked on there. And I'm glad you said that about Pat Narduzzi and the comments going into this game, what it meant around there. Because I think overall, the way that got framed and characterized was so weird. Pat Narduzzi, in my mind, was responding to some idea that coaches try and do where you downplay, is one game the be-all, end-all for the season. And he over-indexed on that. You heard him at the end of the soundbite try and say, we're focusing on Notre Dame this week. He understood he betrayed a little bit too much in that moment. But I can promise you, as someone that's been through this, it doesn't change the way they prepared during the week. Could you have sold me on, in theory, maybe Pitt holds back a few cards of plays that they wanted to use in a game or things they might work in those? Sure. But you're not going into this week, if you're a Pitt player or coach, seeing the helmet on the other side of the field be Notre Dame and thinking, oh yeah, we'll just kind of take this one lightly and go out and let ourselves get embarrassed on a national stage in front of everybody else. That's just not how any of this works.
No, in the prime noon ABC window while everyone is watching College Game Day lead into your game. Absolutely not. Let's just talk about this now because I think a lot of people just heard that one quote and went with it because it was a really stupid thing to say from Pat Narduzzi, and he knew he stepped in it right away. But that entire midweek press conference before the Notre Dame game, he spent about 15 to 20 minutes talking about how good Notre Dame was, how good the defense is, how they disguise coverages, how good the offense is, how good the running backs are. Like, he was praising how tough and physical and good this Notre Dame team is before he was asked, what is it, what is it like coaching this game when you've lost the last two games by combined score of 110-3 or whatever? So then when they asked if it was a must win, he said, it's not a must win. I'd gladly lose 110-3. He was calling back that other comment and win the next two ACC games. But then he also, right after that, was like, but our focus is on Notre Dame. So he knew he stepped in it. We know, and Notre Dame fans know this, but I guess like the wider college football world doesn't know this. Pat Narduzzi's not a fan of Notre Dame. Like, he's made comments before. He does not like Notre Dame. I don't think as the head coach of Pitt, he's ever beaten Notre Dame. I believe he's 0-4, but he wants to beat Notre Dame, guys. Trust me, like, this is something that is a known fact to anyone who's ever watched a game in this series. Pat Narduzzi wants to beat Notre Dame. He really does. It would mean a lot to Pitt. It'd mean a lot to him as a coach, and it'd mean a lot to their program for them to beat Notre Dame. They're not holding back anything in waiting for the Georgia Tech game to pull it out. Like, he wanted to win this game in front of a sold-out crowd at Acrisure Stadium, and he knew he stepped in it right away and shouldn't have said that, and he became a laughingstock for it. And I think he probably, if someone asked him, would regret saying what he said.
Yeah, I just think, and as we've seen with an icy handshake at the end for Marcus Freeman that was likely fueled as much by the end of game machinations as it was anything else, it's just a coach you don't want to feed anything extra to. We saw it happen with Penn State and James Franklin in the postseason, and a spicy, feisty Marcus Freeman is a dangerous thing for the rest of the college football world. But go ahead.
I will also add, Pat Narduzzi called a timeout with 5 seconds left in the game to set up a touchdown to, I guess, make the score look less lopsided because it was 37-9 at that point in garbage time when he put his backup quarterback, Eli Holstein, in, and called a run play, and the clock was winding down, and there were no Pitt fans left in the stadium. It was all Notre Dame fans left. Probably about like 2,000 people in this entire big NFL stadium left. All Notre Dame fans booing him when he called timeout to set up that touchdown play. Marcus Freeman, when he was asked about it after the game, basically was like, to each their own. He was not happy with it either. He said, we'll evaluate that play because no matter what the other coach does, don't let him score. You have to know your assignments on that play, and we'll go and look back at it. But like, you could obviously tell he was ticked off that Narduzzi did that at the end of the game. But anyways, I digress. I wanted to get that out of the way because I feel like it is now bleeding into the college football playoff discussion, and people are pretending like, I've seen like Chuck Todd of all people is arguing about like,
what the hell?
Navy didn't care about the Notre Dame game because it's not an American Conference game, so they didn't play their starting quarterback Blake Horvath because it didn't matter. I'm sorry, if you think that Navy doesn't want to beat Notre Dame or isn't going to do everything it takes to try to beat Notre Dame, that's a crazy take. That is absolutely crazy to me.
For both of these teams, for anyone doing this, if Navy had beaten Notre Dame and then gone on to win the American, as they could still potentially, I think, I haven't looked necessarily at the American.
They beat USF this past weekend, so they're still in it, which was a huge win for Navy.
And you know what would continue to help that? If you had the resume booster of beating Notre Dame. If you're Pitt and you're staring down, yes, was not an ACC game. Your path to the ACC title doesn't need Notre Dame. But if you were 10-2 at the end of the season with wits over Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Pitt, or Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, and Miami to finish off the season, that's a pretty compelling resume for a team, regardless of the outcome in the conference championship. So, like, again, we all have to stop losing our minds.
It's Galaxy Brain takes coming. I shouldn't even care about it, but because it involved the coach saying something stupid, I will comment. Because most of the time I see people on social media say stuff, I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, this is just like, we all have our terrible college football takes, and I'll not engage with those. But because it involved something Narduzzi said that clearly was him stepping in it, which he has done before, and him saying something patently untrue, that he doesn't care, that it's not a must win. He didn't really even say he doesn't care if he wins. He implied it, but he said it's not a must win, which I guess, like, technically by that standard, like, what is a must win game in college football?
It just produced, you're right, a host of bad-faced arguments.
Just a lot of bad takes.
To me, it's like, sometimes we lose it. We zoom out too far. And when we get down the rabbit hole of these college football playoff takes, you forget what the nature of actual competition is and how
Yes.
difficult going out and doing this week in and week out is. And the idea of taking a week where you're giving less than your best effort in terms of going and how you prepare for a game is how you end up with a shit program. No coach in their right mind would run an operation like that
Yes.
because it's so hard to get players to a point where you create the winning habits necessary every week to go out and do this at a high level. So again, like I hate playing the card of like the former player thing because I think at times it's just gatekeeping and it's stupid. But this is one of those cases where I'm like, guys, this is way too hard to think they're playing these galaxy brain games like this. It's insane.
One last thing I'll say during the broadcast, Katie George said that Desmond Reed, the star Pitt running back, waited an extra season to come back from his ankle injury to make sure he was 100% for the Notre Dame game because he really wanted to play against Notre Dame. And he ended up getting hurt later in the game on that Drake Bowen tackle, which I don't know if he's going to be back for Georgia Tech, but he was by far like their best skill position player, their speediest player, had a few juke moves early in the game, made some Notre Dame players whiff on them. So just hearing that alone, it's like, okay, like this is nonsense now. But okay, let's move on from venting about Narduzzi, one of the great villains in ACC coaching, I believe, and talk a little bit about the defense because the defense just was so good. Like I said, they held Pitt to 70 rushing yards, 2.8 yards per attempt. Tay Johnson had the pick six. He had 5 total tackles and a tackle for loss. Adon Shuler, like I can't decide who is my favorite player on this defense because between Shuler and Johnson, like the two of them together have been such a great tandem. But the 2-point run back after the pick six that CJ Carr threw was just the biggest momentum killer, like crowd killer moment because the Pitt fans finally got back into it. They're like, yes, like we got him to throw another interception. We got some points on the board. And then Mason Heinzel throws it straight at Shuler in the end zone. He runs it all the way back. And you could feel the air deflate out of the fans in that stadium.
It was remarkable. It really stole the advantage. Like Pitt got 4 points out of a play that should have been a huge momentum singer. And to me, that's like that's a culture play. Like,
yeah.
Could have gone down in the end zone, and instead the whole defense. Like I encourage everyone go back and watch that play a couple of times, and every play you'll discover a new guy going and giving max effort on that one. From Jason Onye at defensive tackle, like 40 yards down the field, throwing a block. Christian Gray shouting up at the heavens after he went down there and basically took one player on that for like a 30-yard ride on a block. Everyone got in the picture and tried to make sure Adon Shuler got to the end zone. And that to me is like, hey, defend every blade of grass, attack every play, believe that this can be the one that changes the outcome. And that's what this defense is back to doing the same way they were last year, where they thought we're going to go make this happen each and every play, make something game changing. And that was the ultimate one play snapshot of that.
Absolutely. And the D-line was great again. And they had 4 sacks on Heinzel, but I honestly could have had way more. Like Devontae Smith had that one play where he came in and just like arms out was about to just bear hug Heinzel into the ground. And Heinzel like wiggled out of it and Smith whiffed on it. But I mean,
I stopped counting after like 4 plays where Notre Dame had a guy with arms around him in the backfield and had a missed sack. This could have been like a 7-8 sack day. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think like let's just talk about that mismatch in particular, like the Pitt O-line, Notre Dame D-line mismatch, then fed into Notre Dame's coverage being great in that game. Like you could see times when Heinzel would sneak out of pressure. There was nowhere for him to put the football because the coverage was so good. So like it was really like all 3 levels of defense just playing really, really well, Mike. Like the linebackers, once again, like Drake Bowen, Osbury, like everyone kind of had their part in that and just shutting down Pitt's offense through most of the game until the timeout with 5 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Where we had basically all backups in at that point and some guys that were giving really good effort in that too. Like again, what you get from guys deep down in the roster who we don't see out on the field every weekend is always a good indication of just how seriously everyone's taking it behind the scenes. And like you go back and look at this one, I'm scrolling to try and find it because I want to give the young man some love and shout the name out here. Where was it? Armel Mukum, 88 on the D line. went and forced a fumble that very easily could have stopped that last drive. Like the ball ended up going out of bounds,
Yeah.
but he reversed course on a play that got thrown out there, punched the ball out flying towards the play. Like those guys have all taken the opportunity to work and get it done. So I don't know, Jess, you're right about the marriage of coverage and what we have up front too. This defense is now, I think, at the point Chris Ash and this group thought they could be in the offseason, where they have the ability to mix in different coverages, especially on early downs. I think we're seeing the trend still is, though, hey, if they get to third and medium and long, we're busting out the fine china. It's strap it up man across the board. It's let's throw extra bodies and try and challenge the quarterback, because we do have the dogs to hunt on the back end. Like Christian Gray, who Marcus Freeman said was a little banged up and missed, I think, not one but 2 games recently, back out there, or maybe it was just 1 game, but back out there, looked really healthy, looked like his best self.
I think he missed Boston College, but I think he played against Navy. But yeah, and Devontae Smith too, looking way healthier than he has this whole season.
Better.
Like we didn't see a lot of Dallas Golden until the end of this game, where they called that insanely ticky-tack roughing the passer, which also set up that garbage time touchdown. But according to PFF, Notre Dame pressured Pitt on 22 of 41 dropbacks, a 54% pressure rate, while amassing 22 run stops. So that's
and again, without
really
our best defensive tackle out there.
Yeah.
Like
no Gabe Rubio.
No Gabe Rubio. Like, shout out to Jason Anye and the rest of this group. I thought Anye probably his best game, had some good pass rush stuff there. It did well against the run the way that he's done. He's been a really good story that this team and staff have talked about a lot this season.
Let's talk about the offense a little bit, Mike, because Pitt's defense, I thought, had some really good players and had some players flash in this game. And I think Notre Dame's offense really had to earn it. And it was not CJ Carr's best game. I thought he had, the 2 interceptions were obviously bad interceptions. The second one, the pick six, was a great play by Pitt's defense. But I thought like CJ's got to be better at reading that and knowing where you are in the field, and that's easily pickable. But I thought Malachi Fields, our buddy from last week's show, two of the best contested catches I think we've seen this season. Probably 2 of the best catches we've seen from any Notre Dame player this season, unless I'm forgetting one. But the execution on the end of first quarter play where the clock was winding down and Notre Dame got Pitt to jump off sides, CJ throws it up to him. He catches it. He goes like backwards with one hand, catches it in midair and brings it down. That was just a beast mode catch. Followed up by CJ Carr throwing a pick on the next play, which wasn't great. But then the touchdown later on in the game to put Notre Dame up by 3 scores was another Malachi Fields reception that was just throw it up to the 6'4" guy, and he just comes down with it like it's nothing while there's a Pitt guy glued to his side.
I think that one was also a play where they got Pitt to jump off sides.
They did, doing that twice
on
the road, and as a freshman quarterback, like, and also like shout out to the center and the offensive line for that too. Like that's like everyone knowing exactly what their assignment is and what they're supposed to do in that moment. I thought that was really well done by the offense.
Yeah, well-prepared group. And even for CJ, who once again, if you're looking for a criticism in this game, it's, hey, USC and Pitt, probably the 2 biggest games in terms of the hype around them, and maybe the 2, least glamorous CJ Carr performances that we've seen, but to still battle back in a game where he does have 2 interceptions and make plays like that, understanding, all right, I had the flag, let me take the shot downfield one-on-one to the receiver and Malachi, who I was really happy to see, between the broadcast highlighting what a great job he's done with contested catches all year long. They popped some great stats for him, to NFL Draft Twitter taking notice of the physical ability for him. I was really happy because we've seen that all year from him. But with this kind of stage, you now all of a sudden had an audience that did that. As him and Jordan Faison are probably going to week to week flip flop for who's leading the team in receiving yards. Right now, it's Malachi, and 2 completely different skill sets, which is great. You've got a lot of different flavors of ice cream in this receiving room, but Malachi being that true big, strong, go up and get it X wide receiver that Notre Dame's probably lacked for the last number of years has been huge for this team, and quite literally was in this game.
Yeah, this is why you get a Malachi Fields in the portal, because these last few games, like, you've really seen why having that body in your wide receiver room can make a difference, especially in these ACC games. Like, I thought Notre Dame clearly overall is the better team, but I thought especially at the skill positions, they were just Pitt was completely outmatched by them. And no better example of this exists than Jeremiyah Love, who had just another highlight reel touchdown in the first quarter that totally, like I said, with the Adon Shuler pick 2. I mean, this totally took the air out of the stadium early in the first quarter. Jeremiyah Love makes a spin move, and you see in the angle coming forwards from the south end zone towards the Notre Dame line of scrimmage, CJ Carr immediately puts his arm up because he's like, that's a touchdown. It was, Mike, it was awesome.
It's if you, and this is like way too inside baseball, but like if you can hit gap plays like that up inside, you take all the perimeter tacklers out of it. And with a player with that much speed, who also can do that spin move in the phone booth and not have any wasted motion. Like you look, it was basically straight down. He didn't come off his line on that play, which is, he's a mutant. He's going to get himself invited to New York. It feels like every week now as November goes along, he's making some kind of game-changing play like that. Shout out to the offensive line. We talked about it against Navy, the play where he rolled off a tackler. Mm-hmm. I said, he kind of overcame the fact that he got hit in the backfield. Perfectly blocked up play. Everyone nailed this one. And you're right. This overall probably one of the more complete Jeremiyah Love games in terms of you saw the prowess on the ground, and it wasn't just limited to 1 or 2 big plays. It was a consistent day. Pass protection, some really lights out stuff as he is.
The CJ Carr touchdown, yeah. Great
the CJ Carr touchdown, blocking as a lead blocker. Like, he not only is someone who hunts contact, but he also technique-wise is good enough when he gets there. Like, if you're, again, an NFL evaluator, what you saw from him is a guy who has juice in the passing attack. Another week where we saw him out of the backfield as a pass catcher. Like, he is such a complete running back in every facet of his game. And that's a massive improvement from last year, where they used to put Aeneas Williams on the field when it was pass protection downs last year in obvious situations. And you didn't really see Jeremiyah have to involve himself in that way. So we've talked to him on this show about Jaywan Sider and the job he's done getting them to see the game through a quarterback's lens. And I think that's really manifest the most in pass protection. And for him, Jadarian Price, not as good a day in protection. Still had the get off me moment on the kickoff return, which was awesome.
Awesome. I mean, took the kicker for a ride on the back of his undershirt. He also had a couple of plays where he made some juke moves around Pitt defenders who thought they had a TFL, and it turns into like a 4 or 5, 6 yard gain. One other thing I want to say about Jeremiyah Love is that I think you really have to admire how he's changed his skill set in real time, with going from last year where we saw him do a lot of hurdling to this year. Defenders caught on. They know if they go low, he's going to try to hurdle over them. So they started trying to tackle him higher. Now he's hitting the spin move. So if you're trying to tackle him up high and you don't have a good angle and you don't have good leverage, he can spin around you, and he has the vision where he's able to see, like he talked about this at the podium after the game, but like he knew that safety was coming in at a weird angle, and that if he hit the spin move, he was going to just whiff on him and not be able to make the tackle. So I think like watching his skill set adapt in real time to the way he's being defended is really, really cool to watch. And I absolutely agree he should be invited to New York for the Heisman ceremony. This can't be a quarterback award. We need some representation of other positions, Mike.
I mean, listen, we could have a running back and a linebacker there, the way the Jacob Rodriguez season, eerily reminiscent, I said the other day, of Manti Te'o in 2012 in terms of what Jacob Rodriguez is doing at Texas Tech. 4 interceptions, like 7 forced fumbles, and leading one of the best defenses in college football in tackles. So it's feeling very 2012 in that way. But here for Jeremiyah Love, that's the best running back in college football. I know Ahmad Hardy is great for Missouri. Love and appreciate what he does. But if you're asking me, there is no question in any situation who you want there. Again, the only drawbacks to this game, really, some of the short yardage play calling. Again, like, this should have been a game where the offense got another one in and on the goal line.
Ooh, that was brutal.
We're running a rollout in ways that I don't understand. And then, CJ, the interception for a touchdown looked like it was on a design screen. I didn't like the play call a lot more than I, didn't love the throw. And he did a good job. Like, before on that drive, he had seen a Pitt defender flash in a lane that he was looking to throw and actually kept the ball and took off. So I was a little surprised that one got away from him. But again, there were just a couple of spots where play calling wise, including that goal line rep, I didn't love it, but that's been a consistent through line for Notre Dame this year, is because your O-line is good, not great, not as dominant as you've had in the past. I think at times it's made them overcomplicate their thought process, and that continues to kind of show up in those areas in a way. I know people look at kicking as the area, and that reared its ugly head again this weekend as the thing most likely to damn Notre Dame. But I still kind of, out of the corner of my eye, look at some of the short yardage stuff and have some worries.
Oh yeah, it was 4th and 1 because Raritan versus the sideline was also a really tough battle in this game. I mean, let's
Man,
get
I
the
felt
guy some
bad for
smaller
Eli.
shoes. Jesus, Mike, it was bad. But the Pitt defender did a good job of keeping him out of the end zone. So when Notre Dame tried to punch it in from the half-yard line and they couldn't do it, I hated that play call. I thought that it was just bad all around. I hated it. It was yucky. I agree with you. That was probably my least favorite part of the game, other than the 10 seconds after the pick six before the 2-point conversion run back. But yeah, I mean, look, overall, not a lot to complain about from this game. Notre Dame had their toughest battle of the second half of the season post USC game. We were nervous about it. Pitt's a ranked team. Like I said, I don't think they're a bad team. I know they're going to get completely written off now because of the way Notre Dame beat them, but I thought their defense in particular played really hard. They were doing some interesting stuff and trying to disguise coverages, try to make CJ Carr slip up, and they were successful in doing that. But Notre Dame overall just had a better team and was able to put together some really good drives and had some really explosive plays. And that's really all you need to do as an offense when your defense is holding the other team to basically a shutout the whole game.
Yeah, no, it really was, again, a remarkable defensive performance. Shout out to Marcus, Chris Ash for having those guys ready. I mean, the depth you can go down to on the roster of guys that played huge roles for them. You know, we didn't even talk about Luke Talich, who continues to star as that third safety in their dime packages. You know, the linebacker room where KVA had another one of those bone-rattling hits on a tight end that blows a play up. It feels like every week you're looking around and someone else is stepping up to make a play, which is exactly where you want to be going down the home stretch of the season in November.
Speaking of playmakers. Josh Burnham also. 2 sacks. Awesome game. All right. Let's
Big
talk
time game for him. Yeah.
Maybe our favorite player on the defense, or maybe they're all tied for first. I can't decide, but it's Tay Johnson coming up after the break. College football not feeling as juicy as it once did? Let me put you onto something that'll shake up your Saturday and every other day of the week.
Because now that Wendy's has crispy chicken tendies and a powerhouse lineup of new sauces, it's time you transfer to the hottest team in the league.
That's right, Team Tendies. Wendy's Tendies. They're making their undeniable rookie season one for the books. Enjoy first-string flavor from some 5-star recruits. Rep your new favorite team everywhere you go, but make sure to cheer with your mouth closed.
Take it to the end zone of savory sauces like honey barbecue, creamy ranch, and the new Wendy's signature sauce to experience a total taste bud blitz of flavor. It's time to join a team that won't upset you with an upset.
Taste the phenom that's gracing the gridiron with its juicy, crispy, and tendery tendencies. Don't fumble the bag. Commit to Team Tendies and call the most delicious plays in the playbook.
All right, huddle up, guys. Tendies on 3. Tendies on 3. 1, 2, 3, Tendies! Let's do this. Wendy's Chicken Tendies, now at participating U.S. Wendy's.
Support for the Echoes comes from Google. We heard commentators talk about the spread offense all the time, but what if you don't know exactly what that means or what makes it different from other offensive schemes?
You can keep wondering or ask your friends and hope they know what they're talking about, or you can use AI mode in Google search.
You can just type, "Help me understand what a spread option offense is and why a football team would choose to run it." Yep, you can ask all of that in one search, and you'll get an organized and helpful AI-powered response with everything you need to know.
But it doesn't end there. Let's say you want to keep going deeper. With AI mode, you don't have to start a whole new search. You can just ask direct follow-ups like, break down how it compares to the pro-style offense based on overall philosophy, types of formations used, and pace. AI mode is great at these types of comparisons, giving you side-by-side analysis and helping you get the full story from one question to the next. So, if you don't just want to watch the game, but really want to understand it, you can just ask Google.
We're so excited to have Tay Johnson on the show today. I think one of my favorite players on this defense, which is saying a lot, Mike, because there's so many good players on this defense, but Tae Johnson has been awesome this season. But let's start here, Tay. I know Coach Freeman calls you Tay. Are we allowed to call you Tay?
Yeah, you guys can call me that. It's not really like a crazy. That's what I was called my whole life. So,
okay.
You guys could call me that for sure.
Nice.
Awesome. All right. Well, glad we've established the friendship there because, like Jess said, we're big fans of yours, and the way your season has gone felt like it kind of culminated in this big moment Saturday. You get your hands on another one, your 4th interception, a team-leading 4th interception for this season, and you get to take it to the house. So let's go back to that moment. Walk us through what you saw on that play that led to you all of a sudden get to dance in the end zone.
Yeah, it was definitely, we kind of just me going over film study and preparing for the game, it kind of allowed me to see the play before it even happened. And with the coverage we were in, I knew I was in a great spot to make a play, and take advantage of where I'm at on the field. So I kind of seen it. I seen the play happen. I seen the first motion happen, and I kind of knew what was going on, and I just at that point my instincts just took over, and it allowed me to just go play through the ball and have fun in the end zone. So yeah.
When you caught the ball, did you know you were going to be in the end zone a few seconds later?
Oh yeah, I knew I was gonna be in the end zone, because I had a few of those I had one against Arkansas. I felt like I could have did the same. I had one against Boston College. I felt like I could have did the same. So, you know, I just needed to catch the ball. It wasn't a problem about getting in the end zone, and that I finally caught the ball. So I thank God for that moment.
No, it was incredible. One of two great moments. I mean, the safety room had themselves a day in terms of
It was
returns.
funny.
I know Adon Shuler's didn't count for 6 the way yours did, but on that 2-point conversion, do you feel like he gets to win the day because that was a little higher degree of difficulty having to go from the end zone to end zone?
Oh yeah, for sure. You got to give it to him, and at the end of the day, it just shows our competitive spirit.
Yeah.
We felt like, we didn't give up. We didn't want to give up any points to their offense, and with them scoring on defense, we felt like we had to help out the offense, and even though it's 2 points, is points for our team. So any points for our team is what we need. So, it just shows the competitive spirit, and for sure, like anybody run an interception 108 yards, they're allowed to brag on it, whether if it's 2 points or six.
It was definitely something that I don't think I've seen before in a football game when you throw a pick six in Notre Dame's offense and then the other team really only gets 4 points out of it because right after the defense scores 2 on the conversion. But when I was watching that play, it was really cool to see how when Adon Shuler caught the football, the whole defense just went into immediate downfield blocking mode. So what was it like for you running? You were there every step of the way, all the way downfield. I saw Christian Gray, Boubacar Traore, Devontae Smith, everyone was making blocks downfield. So what was it like from you to go from defending the end zone to all of a sudden now we got to block downfield for our safety?
Honestly, I just feel like it's kind of what Coach Freeman preached to us. I feel like that was just the ultimate team glory moment right there. It's a 2 point conversion, so a lot of people probably would have just took a knee or felt like they didn't want to go get the points because it was 2 points. But we're all together and we're all chasing one goal. So just us all blocking and leading the Don to the end zone. That was kind of just, we love our brother, we love our family, and any one of us make a play, we're all going to do the same. So I could say I was trying to kind of give him the red carpet to the end zone, make sure nobody touched him all the way until he got there. So I feel like it's just ultimate team glory moment right there, and it just shows our competitive spirit.
It's awesome to see how much everyone's pulling for each other. I think Christian Gray had my favorite part of that play where he throws a block and then he's on the ground just with his hands up like this, getting hype.
Yeah.
So you guys seem to have a great time together going into this game. And I heard Jeremiyah Love kind of make a little reference to it after. There was a lot of chatter from, Pitt's head coach before this game. Did you guys feel a bit disrespected going into this one? Was there kind of an extra chip on your shoulder?
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely. And I could say that for me, but I could say that for 10, 20 other of my teammates. It was definitely an extra chip on our shoulder because I feel like attack at one is an attack at all of us, and that's how we take. When we just worry about the next one that we do have, so we don't really try to talk too much, or we just are about action, and that's what we pride ourselves on, just being about action. So when people say certain things, we take it personal for sure. And I feel like that's how we played for sure. So it's definitely extra motivation, but we're only worried about Notre Dame at this point.
There was also a lot of Pitt fans, obviously, at this game. This was a huge game for the Pitt program, and College Game Day was there. And it's a noon kickoff. So, it's a little bit different. It's your second road noon kick of the year, I believe. But you're going from this like really hyped up pregame environment outside the stadium to now you have to actually play and execute. So, what is it like having to play in those circumstances when there's just so much hype around this game?
I feel like, I feel like it gives us more motivation, with college game day being there, Aaron Donald was there, Darrell Revis, multiple Pittsburgh Steelers players. So it kind of, just gives us extra motivation because we know we're on a bigger platform, and I kind of I kind of want my name to be heard of by my actions, and by what I do on the field. So just having all that stuff there, hyping up the game. It was definitely fun, and it definitely just gives us more motivation to put ourselves on the map and put our team on the map and show what we can do.
Your name's starting to get mentioned in a lot of places now. This Notre Dame defense, I believe your guys' 17th interception of this season. You lead the team with 4, like we mentioned. And, for you, a guy that didn't get a ton of time to go and do this on the field and develop last year, we've kind of watched you grow in real time this season. I'm curious from your end, was there a game you can remember or a week you can remember where things started to click or slow down the way that we hear so many guys talk about as they get going and start to get those reps under their belt?
Yeah, for sure. For me, I'll probably say it was the Arkansas game that kind of put everything into place for me. The game kind of slowed down for me. And like I said earlier, I had a chance to get a pick six that game, and I dropped it. But it was more about, just me being confident and leading the back seven, with the Don back there and me helping out our young corner like Mark Zachary and stuff, and really it just showed me that I could be a leader, with my ability. And once that game happened, I kind of felt everything slow down. And I felt more confident, and I knew what I had to do to keep getting more confident and be more confident. So I would definitely say the Arkansas game, it kind of just showed me like what I can be for sure.
What is it like playing for Coach Mike Micken, someone that we hear a lot of defenders, especially secondary players, praise a lot?
Oh yeah, it's fun, playing with Coach Mickens, because you're always going to get the honest truth, and
Mhm.
I believe if you want to be the best you can be, that's what you have to have those type of people around you. You have to have those type of people mentoring you. And Coach Mickens, he always just tells me the real, and he's like another father figure for me, for sure. And just playing for him, he puts the confidence in us, he puts the technique in us, and he just gives us the ability to go out there and play free. And he tells us why he recruited us, and he shows us that love, and it gives us all the confidence in the world to go do what we're able to do.
You've clearly put that confidence to work. You mentioned the leadership in this secondary, and that's welcome. You guys lost a lot of really important players on last year's team, guys that as you're going through your redshirt year, I wonder what you learned from, seeing guys like Xavier Watts, seeing guys like Benjamin Morrison and the way they did their work, what you took from being around those guys.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely took a lot from X, definitely, because I was hurt the first 9 or 8 games my freshman year. So I kind of sat next to X in meetings. I kind of tried to like mimic everything he did,
Mm,
and just just being in that shadow, it kind of showed me like the game within the game. It showed me a different perspective of how you break down film, how you watch film, how you take care of your body, and that kind of was the biggest thing for me, because before I came in, I just knew how to play football. I didn't
yeah.
know how to take care of my body, how to watch extra film and stuff like that. So definitely just that part of the game, is the biggest part that I took from X. And BMO, I wasn't really around BMO that much once he got hurt, but just seeing X like that, it kind of helped me because I always was confident in my ability, but I had to figure out ways to enhance my game for sure.
That's definitely a good person to shadow and mimic, I would say. We had Kingston on a couple weeks ago, and he said that Chris Ash was funny, but sometimes his jokes weren't that funny. Do you think Coach Ash is
Yeah.
funny?
Yeah, Coach is funny for sure. Sometimes you just gotta kind of laugh a little extra with him, just to burst his bubble. But I love Coach Ash, and I appreciate him a lot, for how he's held me accountable and how he's continued trusting in me, by giving me to start my first week and just allowing me to grow. So Coach Ash, he's a great guy. He's a jokester. He's always gonna have a joke or two every day, but when it comes to ball, it's football with him.
No, definitely we've seen it's ball with him. What about Coach Freeman? Obviously, defensive background, but he's been the head coach now here for a while, so less day-to-day there. How would you describe, for everyone that sees Marcus Freeman on the outside with, the great stuff that I want to be able to buy in the bookstore that he's rocking all the time, all that stuff. Like, what's he like behind the scenes with you guys in day-to-day, especially in defense?
Yeah, Coach Freeman. To me, he's just a normal guy. Like to me, he has a very great fan base, like with our fans and everybody else. But me seeing him every day, he's just a normal guy. He's kind of he's just like we are. To be honest, he's just older. He's been through what we are going through right now. But Coach Freeman, he's a genuine guy. He's always gonna keep it real with you and let you know what things you have to do to be your best. So, Coach Freeman, he's a great role model for me and my teammates.
Wait, so I have to ask because we've seen guys keep it real with him before, going all the way back. Christian Gray running up, giving it to him on the sideline. Have you ever had one of those moments where you feel like coaches put that bug in your ear and you can go over and talk a little smack to him?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it happened on Saturday. After I got the pick six, I had to go over and tell him a few words. I can't tell you what I said, but I had to tell him a few words, just to kind of remind him, and I know it's not a reminder, because I know he believes in what I can do and he trusts what I can do. But sometimes, as a competitor, you gotta remind people for sure. So I definitely said a few words for sure to Coach Freeman.
We'll get you out of here in a few seconds, but I did hear you say at the podium after the game on Saturday that tackling Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price in practice is pretty hard. So other than those two, is there a player in practice that you really hate having to go head-to-head with from this Notre Dame offense?
Oh yeah, it's a lot of guys, for sure. I would say right now, it would probably be Faison if I had
Mm.
to because and I'm not necessarily like guarding him every play or like, matched up right over him, but you always have to figure out where he's at. He can always be a problem in the defense, just because he's small, he's quick, he's agile. So you got to figure out where he's at and kind of keep him in hand because if not, he's fast and quick. So he can get out of certain situations. But all of our receivers, and our running backs, it's a great offense. So it's just a competition daily that helps me for sure.
I was just going to say, speaking of receivers, how often do you guys see Malachi do things like that in practice the way he did in the game this weekend? That was kind of the talk of the town.
Oh yeah, we've seen it, so it's not like we haven't seen it in practice, but even seeing it on the field, it's still like you still have an awe moment. It's like we've seen this before, but I don't know if we've seen it like that. Like that was kind of a great catch. We're still in awe of it. But we expect that from him, and like I've said, we've seen that before. He's a great player.
Okay, Tay, last question. We heard you have class right after this, so I need to ask, what class do you have Monday mornings that you need to skedaddle to after this interview?
Yeah, I got Portuguese, so
Ooh,
Ooh.
yeah, that's
obrigado.
yes, obrigado for sure. But I it's a great class, and I'm continuing learning the language, so it's a fun class, and that's where I gotta go. So wish me luck.
Well,
There we go.
I wish I knew how to say good luck in Portuguese, but unfortunately, all I know is thank you. So,
Yeah,
obrigado,
yeah,
Tay.
no problem. I appreciate you guys for sure.
Thanks, Tay. Appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the way this season. Good luck with Portuguese. We're all rooting for you, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
At the Echoes ND Pod is where you're going to see a bunch of clips of Tay Johnson on your timeline very soon. Our thanks to him for stopping by, who's turned into really our Xavier Watts replacement for this year, which has been incredible as a development to watch there. Speaking of development, could be one of those weekends if all things go well for the Fighting Irish back end of the roster. Against Syracuse at home, it's senior day in South Bend. I can tell you, as someone that played from 2008 to 2012, thinking about Syracuse on senior day. Not a fond memory for your boy. A lot different here as Notre Dame about 35-point favorites, but that didn't stop us from losing back then on senior day in a way that will haunt me till my dying day. How do you feel about this one, Jess?
I think Ricky Collins is going to start at quarterback. Obviously, Steve Angeli went out early this year, and Syracuse just has not been the same without him. They've had massive quarterback woes. They started another quarterback against Carolina a couple weeks ago who only had 4 completions. He's a lacrosse player. So I mean, it's been tough for Syracuse. Their defense is still not that bad. I mean, they're really not a terrible defense, but their offense has really struggled to do anything. So yeah, I mean, I think Notre Dame's defense is going to have a dominant performance this weekend. But Mike, before we move on to some of our final notes here about the weekend and playoffs and basketball team, et cetera, can you just give us like your definitive Syracuse Senior Day story? Because I don't think you've ever told it on the pod before.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was because it was an awful day.
Can you relive your worst trauma for us behind the BCS championship game against Alabama?
Yeah. Well, I mean, at least that one we were good. Like my freshman and sophomore year, we lost on Senior Day twice. Quite honestly, the worst of that was losing my sophomore year to UConn. Being from Connecticut and having to go home after that shit was a nightmare. But it was snowing 2008. We were, in the midst of a season that was going to be one of 2 that ended up getting Charlie Weiss fired because we couldn't go out there and play well enough. And I felt terrible because I loved our seniors. Like you come in and those are the guys that you're learning from at the beginning, and to watch them have to go out and lose their final game in Notre Dame Stadium. But then also that was the game where it was pouring down snow in South Bend. And by the end of the game, where you're used to on Senior Day, the marshmallow fight that happens in the student section, we had snowballs actually pelting us down on the sideline. And I love the Notre Dame fan base. I love the students I went to school with. I have never been so blind with rage as I was that day, and thinking about it after the fact, seeing guys get pegged in the back of the helmet with snowballs on the sideline. I don't care what the circumstances were. Y'all were foul for that. And if I ever see one of you on the street in a place where it's snowing, I promise you and your family are going to get pelted with snowballs the way we did that way, you monsters.
I guess like the inverse of that was one of my favorite Senior Day memories when Sam Hartman was a senior in 2023 and someone threw a marshmallow from the student section into his hot chocolate, I believe. That
one
was
of the coolest
awesome.
things I've ever seen.
That was awesome. So maybe we'll get a repeat of that and not the Syracuse snowball pelting game full of angry fans in the student section. I'm sorry that happened to you, Mike. Let the record show I was in middle school. I was not in the student section that day. I was not there. I had nothing to do with it. Would I have partaken? It's possible. Probably not. I probably would have been too scared to get yelled at by an usher in community standards or whatever they call it now. But yes, Mike. So Senior Day, it's not going to be the Steve Angeli revenge game. Probably for the best.
Probably for the best, but I'm so sad. Like they've lost, I think, 6 straight games since Steve went down. They had beaten, at that
Clemson,
point in the year they beat Clemson and UConn, UConn, great win.
Well, Fran Brown made him run sprints afterwards, so they didn't even get to enjoy. I mean, like that in hindsight, should have like we said at the time, maybe we should have celebrated a little bit. This is a big win.
Winning is hard, but yeah, I'm sad. Like Steve Angeli, man, we all talked about how fondly we think of Steve and the job he did for Notre Dame as a backup. The moment coming in the 2-minute drill, like in the playoff run. So I'm sad that he doesn't get to come back to Notre Dame and have that moment. Even though for Notre Dame, it'll be nice. And again, Notre Dame has done a really good job this season after the first couple of games of handling their business against the opponents they're supposed to beat. And so I see no reason why, especially in a game where your goal is to clear the bench. Like you want to be able to get the back end of the roster, the seniors that have never seen the field, the walk-ons, the guys that put so much work in behind the scenes, whose families are going to be there taking that final walk with them, out of the tunnel at Notre Dame Stadium. You want to get everybody out there on the field and let them have their moment. That's always your goal as an underclassman starting going into that game. But certainly, if you're a senior, one of the older guys in this roster that does play, as well as anybody, the guys that don't get that opportunity to run out there and enjoy those Saturdays the same way you do. And you want to give them that chance. And that's what this game needs to be for these guys. And I'm sure that's going to be the goal.
It's making me emotional thinking of Senior Day as a student. Mine was against Wake Forest. It was a blowout. It was so much fun. I had to use a butter knife to peel marshmallow goo off my duck boots the next day, but it was such a great time. I will never forget going down onto the field with my friends. It goes by so fast.
I cried so much my true senior year, Senior Day. We barely beat Boston College. I wasn't sure if I was going to be back as a 5th year. All my friends were there. My 5th year going into that one, It was great. We were winning a bunch of games. We're going to play the national championship. I'm out there smiling. You know, my mom and dad are crying. My brother, like, and I understand completely the emotions of the day for them. But I'm like, this is great. The only problem is that's the game. I believe it was Notre Dame Senior Day, my 5th year, that has produced the infamous Mike Golic Jr. pregame pee pants picture. That if you Google my name, it's me before in those mustard gold pants who had hydrated way too well before the game with a massive piss stain in my pants. That was because it was taking the pictures of my mom, who, again, is wearing all our gear, tears in her eyes. My dad's out there shedding a few tears, and I'm shedding tears south of the border just getting ready for kickoff.
Oh, piss pants, Mike. Oh, man. All right. Well, speaking of unfortunate situations, the Notre Dame women's basketball team lost a blowout game to Michigan on NBC this past weekend, which is a huge bummer. This was going to be like the first test to see where this team really is with all the transfers that came in this year and with Hannah Hidalgo entering her junior year, and Michigan just completely shut them down. So they're going to have to do a lot of work if they're going to want to beat USC coming up on their schedule, or any of the ACC teams really on their schedule. They've got so much work to do. But I do want to shout out, before that game, they played against Akron, and Hannah Hidalgo set the NCAA steals record with 16 steals and broke the Notre Dame single game points record. I think she had 43 points or 44 points. So
41. Congrats
to Hannah on that. Obviously, it's tough to go from like record-setting night at home against Akron to just completely shut out on the road against a good Michigan team. Michigan is a good team, obviously, but Notre Dame beat them in the tournament last year and obviously expects to be at least better than they were on Saturday this year. So a lot of work to do for them. And then the men, of course, lost in a heartbreaker last second of the game against Ohio State on Sunday. So tough weekend for the basketball programs, but we'll keep everyone posted as the season progresses. And of course, like I mentioned, once football season winds down, we'll still be here. So we'll have plenty of Notre Dame athletics updates for you of the non-football variety.
Yes, very much looking forward to that. Congrats to Hannah, who continues to etch her name all over the Notre Dame record books, and I'm sure will as the season goes along. You know, I think we always kind of figured getting out of those initial games with all the turnover on this team, going to take a while for them to find their footing, but I have complete faith in Hannah and Coach Ivy to get that done as they go along there. Jess, in other non-Notre Dame football news, shout out to the Notre Dame rugby team winning the Big Ten title, earned a bye in the National College Rugby playoffs. They finished the regular season ranked number 6. So pretty cool stuff there for the rugby team that, you know, again, in the annals of other Notre Dame sports there, I just always remember the rugby fields are the ones out by the Steppen Center.
Yeah, I used to actually play club soccer on those fields. They're very nice turf fields. And I believe all this happened in the middle of a pretty massive snowstorm. I saw some photos from it, and like it was coming down heavy. But they won. So no students pelted snowballs at the rugby team, which is nice.
Yeah, so I'm pulling up the bracket right now to see where we're going to be at. So Notre Dame's got the bye, and it'll be Saturday the 22nd. So coming up this weekend, they're going to face Belmont Abbey in this one. So Notre Dame joins a field that also includes Brown, St. Bonaventure, Marion Walsh, Belmont Abbey, Queens, and Wheeling. So
you're going down, Woj.
Yeah, get ready to feel the heat, brother.
The Bonnies are going down.
Perfect. So Notre Dame fans, brush up on your Bonnie shit talk and get ready to
go. Before we go, Mike, do you want to talk about this USC letter from the athletic director, or should we save it? Because Jen Cohen put out a long letter talking about non-conference scheduling, etc. It's up to you.
Yeah.
Should we get into it?
For me, this is really quick because the newsletter came out, the State of Troy, talking about their which, you know, sure, and talked about their decision-making going forward. And more or less, to boil it down, pointed out that around the Big Ten, there aren't a lot of other teams that after week 4 in the college football season are playing non-conference opponents. And if they do, they're certainly not playing them on the road, and they're certainly not playing the caliber of opponent that USC has in Notre Dame, and continues to insinuate that this is not in their plans for their long-term goal of winning a Big Ten championship, winning a national championship. Basically, they want to go out and run the playbook that a majority of the Big Ten has run to great success. Michigan won a national championship a couple years ago with an out-of-conference schedule that included nothing and nobody. So they're basically saying, looking around at the rest of the conference and how they do business. My whole takeaway from this is, fine. Go play somebody else. I'm done giving a shit. Like, it was a great rivalry. I enjoyed playing in it. I would love to see it persist. It's sad that it won't, but USC has shown they have no problem breaking up tradition in the name of going out there and securing their future both financially and on the field. Good. They have every right to. They don't have to care about college football at large, but I'm also not going to sit here and say we should bend over backwards to play the game on their terms for an adherence to something that clearly they don't care about. So go play someone else. We already announced the Auburn game. I'm sure we can find and schedule more. Life will go on, but I'm kind of sick of the discourse around it, kind of going back to some of the stuff that happened around the playoff discussion and Pitt and other teams not caring. Like, we're losing sight of this. So much of it's anti-competitive. Go with God and do your thing.
Right. Just, I have an idea. Play Notre Dame and beat them. That'd be really good for your college football playoff resume. If Miami hadn't beaten Notre Dame this year and had 2 losses to Louisville and SMU and played a G5 team in week 1, I don't think they'd be ranked in the top 15 or top 16, wherever they are right now. I think they'd probably be at the bottom of the top 25 because their best win would be over NC State. I don't know. So yeah, this is just, if you want to read the long, it's on the USC Trojans website. There's a section called non-conference football scheduling. Maybe we'll read it at a later date, but it's basically giving a lot of excuses as to why, USC should not play a non-conference game after week 4. Because if they lose it, then then win the game. Like, they have like a great recruiting class coming in next year. Like, I think that they're going to be probably a good football team moving forward. They clearly are pretty good this year. So, anyways, Mike, I'm sure we'll discuss it at a later date, but that's
we've had to discuss it. We've had to discuss it so many times already. I'm sick of it, but I'm sure this will be back for even more, as we will be every Tuesday here throughout the remainder of a season that looks like it is destined for another playoff run. We'll have more rankings to react to after this week, where we had a team like Alabama lose in a way that starts to become interesting for Notre Dame. Miami keeps it trucking and could have the same record by the end of the year. So we will have plenty of that to break down, including the results of the Syracuse game. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate it. Go Irish.